Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live Q&A podcast. We do this monthly. I'm here with Colleen.
Hello.
We're here with Danny,
Hi, everybody.
and we are here with a group of people that are here to ask questions and have conversations about Reiki topics, spiritual topics. There's about 20 of us here to right now. Usually we have more join around 9:30 since that's the time of our Distance Reiki Share. People are used to that timing. There's a couple of things I want to talk about because this is actually a question that we've had. And it's been a while since I've had the space to talk about the format of the Distance Reiki Share, the differences between this Q&A podcast and the Distance Reiki Share. And yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about that. And we had an email come in about like, how does that all work? Because I'm new to it. So we're gonna talk about that here. I did want to make the announcement that our next step, Reiki and Explore the 12 Heavens registration is open. Those are our year-long classes, and registration is only open for this period of time. So registration closes January 18th, and then our classes start the 21st and the 22nd. So just a heads up with that, that registration is closing in a few weeks. And so if you would like to join those classes, definitely get on that registration so that you don't miss that time frame. Um, because we don't open registration until the end of the year of 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first Q&A that we've had after the new year. And then the other thing, because this will be released on Monday the 12th, we are having our annual Burning Bowl ceremony on Tuesday the 13th. We'll be sending out the link for that. If you're part of the Distance Reiki Share and the podcast, and you get the links for those, you will get the link for it just automatically. But we're going to send it out to the whole list. So that's from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday the 13th. And then, of course, we will be releasing it onto our podcast and YouTube channel that following Thursday. So you'll be able to, if you're not able to join live, you will be able to catch the recording of it. All right. Is there anything that I missed? We have classes coming up. January, February, we're teaching every class we teach. Reiki 1 and 2, Reiki Master, Animal Reiki 1 and 2, Animal Reiki Master, and Karuna Reiki Master as well. So we always do that at the beginning of the year. So you can look at ReikiLifestyle.com for all of that. Okay, I think I got everything. All right, so our first question is about the format of the Distance Reiki Share, and as well as this live Q&A podcast. So I'm going to kind of go into details about that, because if you're new to the Distance Reiki Share, it can be a little free flow. So I will say that first is that we have a general format, but at the same time, sometimes things go long. Sometimes we need to adjust how things work. And so we do give space and always have that caveat that things can change at any point in them with it. But generally speaking, when you come into the Distance Reiki Share, which is every single Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, you do have to sign up for the Distance Reiki Share and the live Q&A podcast links, like that list. You can do that at ReikiLifestyle.com in order to receive the links. We can't put them publicly because of Zoom bombers and things like that. But you'll receive the link, and not everybody wants to receive that link every week, which is why we have a specific list for it. So you do have to sign up for that. But just know we've been doing this since March or April of 2020, and we do it every single week unless it falls on a major holiday. So they start at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, and it goes to 11 a.m. Pacific every week. And it is very casual, so you are welcome to come in late, leave early, however that works for you. Skip weeks, doesn't matter. We keep it very casual. We keep it very relaxed because that's how we like to operate in our lives, and with stuff. So That's why we don't want to add any pressure. We all have enough pressure in this world right now. Um, so we always do, mostly 99% of the time, we do a Reiki talk on a subject. So that is like a learning opportunity about different subjects within Reiki and also spirituality and also shamanism, because we have a lot of training in shamanism, obviously a lot of training in Reiki, and we are in a spiritual community. So we have, other trainings and other modalities, plus just knowledge in other types of spirituality. So, generally speaking, it's about different topics that have to do with all of that. So, for example, and we do different topics like on a month long, sometimes it's a little longer on a month long basis. So, right now we are talking about the topic of manifestation, and how we can manifest things in our lives. So, for example, this week we talked about setting intentions. What are your intentions? How do you listen for intentions and that higher self version of your intentions of things that you want to manifest? And then we're going to go through different topics of manifestation. Next week is our burning bowl ceremony. Sometimes we do things like that where we have it. It's an annual tradition, but that also has to do with manifestation. We're letting go of the things that are in our way that are blocking us from manifesting things. So that's just an example. We do different topics. Last month was Eagle Mouse View. And so we talk about all of the years of practice and knowledge that we have been taught by other teachers and by the spiritual work itself. Then it's 99% of the time, a guided journey. Sometimes it's just like an invocation, which is slightly different of a technique where we do a guided journey. And that is for you in your own practice, how that works for you, where we are going into the Reiki energy, we're traveling into the enlightened realms, we are asking questions, and there's usually a prompt that gives you an opportunity for automatic writing. Automatic writing is where you just go into free form with writing. You're listening to the energy and you're not evaluating it. You are just allowing the information to come in and get onto the paper, or if you like to type, however that works for you. And not everybody likes to automatic write. That's fine. But a lot of people do. And it's a form of channeling. So it can be really helpful for people when you're in your spiritual exploration. Then that usually takes about an hour. It kind of depends. Sometimes it takes, a little longer than an hour. Sometimes it's a little shorter than an hour. So at about 10:30, 10:35 Pacific time is when we go into breakout rooms. Now, a lot of people join from work and they're listening to it and allowing information to wash over them. So at that point, a lot of people sign off. But we usually have about 50 people stay at where we go into breakout rooms with each other. We try to have about 3 to 4 people in a breakout room with each other. And that's where we give and receive Reiki in small groups with each other. And there's a lot of different ways that people do that. Most of the time, they're all giving and receiving Reiki at the same time. And that's usually about 20 to 25 minutes that people are giving and receiving Reiki with each other. One of the things that we do is when we are in that giving and receiving with each other, we are pretty clear about the format of how that works. One of the things that we make sure that we really care about is that we are generally not processing each other. And what that means is that a lot of people in their Reiki practices receive psychic impressions. It's definitely a part of a lot of people's practices. In this, because we are in a group with strangers, essentially, I mean, a lot of us have gotten to know each other over the years, and even, I would say, friends to a degree. But a lot of us don't know each other. We're joining from all over the world. We're all in different time zones. And so in this format, we just like to stick to straight Reiki, where we are not processing each other, where we're not sharing psychic impressions with each other. There are other Reiki circles, other times where that is very appropriate to do, but because of the format of this circle, we try not, or we really ask that people just stick to straight Reiki. And the other thing, and also we're all trained in different modalities, right? A lot of us are trained in a lot of different things, but some of us are not. Some of us are only trained in Reiki. The Distance Reiki Share is open to all levels. So you could be a beginner with the Distance Reiki Share. You may not have ever received, don't have a Reiki attunement, that you're just Reiki curious. Maybe you've had a Reiki session or you've heard of Reiki and you would like to see what it's about, receive some Reiki. It's open to all levels. And so we have people that maybe aren't attuned or just were attuned, and we have people that have been teachers and very experienced for a long time. And we're just here in community with each other. So those are, we have all different ranges, which is another reason that we ask people to stick to straight Reiki, not bring in their other modalities and not really process each other. However, having said that, we are also very community minded with this. That's a part of the reason that we hold it every single time or every single week, is that it's helpful to be in community, not just for us, but for other people. And so we do encourage that if you would like to connect outside of the Distance Reiki Share, exchange each other's emails. You absolutely can get each other's information. And then that gives people the consent to work with each other outside of the parameters that we set for the Distance Reiki Share, our Distance Reiki Share. So let's say you are interested in sharing impressions with each other, definitely feel comfortable connecting outside of the Distance Reiki Share. But that gives everybody another level of awareness on, if they are open to receiving information, psychic impressions, or not. There's just a level of ethics around that when it comes to sharing psychic impressions with other people. So it's something that we really kind of continue to hold the line on, and we definitely say that every single week with it. So there's a few things about how the format is concerned. I'm going to make sure that I get all the questions right, answered. So you don't need to know Reiki to join. Can you tell me how long it is? It's an hour and a half every single week. At the end, after we go into the breakout rooms to give Reiki to each other, then we spend about 5 minutes at the end. We send group Reiki always to the different things that are going on. People ask for Reiki in the chat, like please send Reiki to me or to friends or family, people that I know who are going through difficult times. We send it to world events and the people, the land, the animals that are affected by different world events, whether they are human made, whether they are nature, like a natural disaster. We send to the peace grids for the intention of peace. And so we always do that at the last 5 minutes where we send group Reiki, which is really powerful. So having been on the receiving end of that group Reiki, it's always really powerful for that. So it's always an hour and a half, unless we're doing a ceremony, then it's 2 hours, generally speaking, but it's always an hour and a half. You do not need to register more than once. If you register for that list, you will receive the link to it. And then we use terms like invocation and journey. What's the difference? So the invocation doesn't really have like an active part to it. All we're doing in an invocation is we're just bringing in the Reiki energy. We're invoking the Reiki energy or spiritual guides that you might work with. And, maybe even setting intentions, things like that. Where a journey has an active part to it, where we are traveling into the enlightened realms. We're asking questions. We're receiving, we might go to a different spiritual location where we're receiving healing from the Reiki energy. And then we're also bringing in empowerment. We're bringing in this awareness of our gifts and talents that we might have answers to questions that we might have. So that's the difference between an invocation and a journey. One's more passive, for lack of a better word. I wouldn't say that's the perfect word to describe it. And one's more active with it. So those are the differences between the two. So that is the Distance Reiki Share. That is different than this live Q&A podcast that we have. The live Q&A podcast is once a month. The date changes with that. So you have to be aware of our calendar, which you can find at reikilifestyle.com to find the dates for the Q&A podcast. Generally speaking, we like to do it on the second Wednesday of the month, but it does have to change based on teaching schedule, based on traveling schedules, things like that we do have to shift the date. So like this month, obviously, what's the date? We're on the 7th. It's very early for this month. Sometimes it has to be a little bit later. So the date does shift with it. The Q&A podcast is a little bit more interactive, and Colleen has been doing this podcast since 2013, very early in podcasting. And this is actually how the podcast started. And then when I joined the Reiki lifestyle business, we expanded the podcast from there, as you all well know. It started including guests and things like that. But we care about this format because we receive emails about Reiki questions. People post on social media about Reiki questions. And we like to be able to have a format that's available to people to ask and get answered your Reiki questions from very experienced Reiki teachers, very experienced shamanic practitioners, and formerly teachers. As Colleen was formerly a teacher with it, it's still integrated into all of our work as well. So, where that line is always a little blurred with it. So especially, if you have a situation that comes up in your practice, like it's really helpful to have a place where your questions can be asked and answered. And so that's why we do this once a month for people that have a question. Or if we get a question that's very common, we will answer the question, especially things that are happening in the world. We get emails and direct messages on social about common questions. I'm sorry, I'm obviously sick. So sorry that I keep sniffling. And so that's why this is still here. And we really like this format too, to have, again, community, because we also receive feedback and answers to questions that are from other people's perspectives or experiences that they have. And so it's just really fun to be in a place where we can talk about these subjects. We can ask our questions. We can hear from other people, different people's experiences and feedback. And so it's just a format and a space that we hold for that opportunity, because it's not an opportunity that we may have in our own communities, right? So that's another piece of it as well, especially if you live in a place, because we have people join from all over the world, all over the country. If you live in a place where Reiki is not very popular, you don't have a big community where you get to talk about these things, it's super helpful to have this online community. So it is a little bit different. Also, before each episode of the podcast, of this live Q&A podcast format, we do talk about how you can ask your questions anonymously, such as the Distance Reiki Share questions, and also then in the podcast, like what the differences are and stuff, that you don't have to have your questions or yourself on the recordings, because not everybody feels comfortable with that for all different reasons. And so you can direct message questions to us if you want to be here live. As you know, we have people that email questions, things like that are a part of the format at this, that we give the opportunity to everybody to feel comfortable asking questions. So that's the differences with the two different things. And like the formats of each, the opportunities that we have in each. Still, all of it is very community based. So I think I got everything.
Well, I would add one thing. They're both free.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Both free.
So there's no charge for any of it. And then the other thing I would add is because we were talking about, Robin was talking about the psychic impressions in the Reiki, Distance Reiki Share, we want to be really clear that first of all, we teach how to receive psychic impressions in our Next Step Reiki classes. We teach the journey techniques. We teach in the Explore the 12 Heavens. So we definitely go into the telepathic parts of possibilities with Reiki energy and consciousness. The reason we say, and she did explain this part, that we don't share that during the Distance Reiki Share breakout rooms is again because so many people come in from all different levels, different parts of the world, various belief systems, and so we just practice straight Reiki there. So everybody feels safe that they know they are in the Reiki energy. And Robin also talked a little bit about the ethics because that's true in any Reiki circumstance that you are in. Part of what we teach is the appropriateness of sharing your psychic impressions and the consent from those that you are working with. So even though we are highly, highly skilled in that soul level connection that you can have with Reiki and how that comes through telepathically. If I'm in a setting where I don't have consent from the people to even engage there, I actually don't let the energy and the impressions come through without consent from them. And then because I mentioned the idea of sharing, because often things do come through, even whether you are, not actively pursuing that information, then you get to decide as the practitioner when and where you share. Again, time and place appropriate, and what are people working with Reiki with you for? And also, if you do receive impressions or information during a Reiki share and you are uncomfortable sharing, it is always your choice whether you share or not. You're never responsible to share, and you can always trust that Reiki energy is going to help that person find their way through the information with or without the sharing. So that's just a little bit to add to that. And then I would also add that we started another new thing this year, and we haven't been really clear with the Distance Reiki Share, is because we are doing these series of information, as Robin described. This month, we're doing I think it's going to be 5 or 6 weeks about manifestation, and we talk about those topics, and we do a journey every week. The other thing that we started doing was writing blogs about the topic. And those blogs are on our website. If you go to the Reiki Resources tab on our homepage, ReikiLifestyle.com, you can see the YouTube connection because every recording is put on YouTube on a Thursday and on our podcast channels. And both of those are again on our website under the Reiki Resources tab. And then also the blogs are called Reiki Conversation blogs, and we put the whole series. So that way you can join live, you can listen later on YouTube or our podcast channels. Both of those are Reiki Lifestyle, or you can also read about it. So if that is, whatever, however it works best for you, or let's say you've listened to the conversation and now you want to deep dive into the blog, because the blog is also rewritten, not just from the conversation, but rewritten about the topic itself. We're always behind on those blogs, by the way. So right now, what is being posted under Reiki Conversations is called spiritual buzzwords. And I think this week we just posted about oracle cards and pendulums and other topics that people are wondering about. So that was a whole month that we did in October about different spiritual buzzwords. So those are just now what's getting on the blog. The YouTube and podcast channels are posted every Thursday. And that is like immediately following. So you can get the information immediately. The information, whether it's immediate or not, is always relevant. So none of it is like, oh, you have to listen to it this week. Although often we talk about what's going on currently in the world, and different things that are happening. And then I would also add with our podcast, because we get confusion with this too, we have the Q&A podcast that is what we're doing right now. And this is our community podcast to be together and talk about Reiki in all different ways. And we also do an invocation here, which we'll get into pretty quickly. But every Monday, we also, 3 Mondays out of the month, we also post on our YouTube and podcast channels our guest podcasts. So we have, like last Monday, for instance, oh gosh, and I've just had it right here. Um, we had Michaela Dystar on, I didn't say that right, Daystar. So we had Michaela Daystar on. So every Monday we have either the Q&A, which is once a month, or the guests, which is 3 times. All right, Danny, did we miss anything?
No, that was a lot. It was good. I did want to say too, if you are new in the Distance Reiki Share and you go into a breakout room, um, people have been going for years now, and so you just let them know you're new. This is my first time, because in each breakout room, depending on our time, they might do it differently, and they can explain how they do it. Like if they're all going to give Reiki at the same time, if there's only 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or if there's 4 people in the room and 3 of you are going to give Reiki to one person at a time if you have the time. And so just let them know I'm brand new and what are we going to do in here? And there's going to be somebody in that group that knows that can start it and let you know. Plus, we like to know if you're new, so we can say hi.
Well, I think we've officially covered all of it. So it's good. We should do that. We should take that clip out and have it available for people to click into.
Well,
To
it's part of the reason that we don't do that because it takes so long to fully explain the formats. And so it can be challenging to take the time to do it. And, either in the Distance Reiki Share or even here because it takes so long.
Takes a long time, yes. All right. Well, here's the scoop through it all. It's all about us being able to join together in community, learn about Reiki, share about Reiki, and then utilize Reiki in our daily life, both for ourselves and family and friends and the animals and the world and everything else. So we truly believe in Reiki energy as having an incredible amount of assistance in the world right now. And as we join together, we empower these higher frequencies and we move ourselves into entrainment with those frequencies, coherence with those frequencies, and the energies, the life force, and really the divine intelligence that is within us and all around us and out beyond us. What gives us a connection to it? And again, we believe in it. This is, for me, my whole life has been about how do I contribute wellness into the world. And All of us here have that underneath, even if we are personally in our own place right now, however that looks and however we do that. Sometimes it's a simple smile at a stranger. Sometimes that is contributing wellness, and other times we have more that we are able to share, more capacity. So there's never a requirement with Reiki Energy 2, which is what Robin was also talking about, why we make it all so fluid for when you can join us, when you can't. Also know that even if you're not able to be here live or even listen later, you can connect into the energy of Reiki with community in any moment. That distance symbol can connect you into the energy that we all share here in any moment. And so, remember that Reiki on the fly where you can just think it in that moment and invite it to be there, and know that there is support for you in all different ways and in the ways that you might need it in that particular time or day. Okay, well, is there anything else? Are we going to go into an invocation?
Yeah, go ahead and go into the invocation.
Okay. All right. The invocations in these are always channeled, and so that is another just quick explanation for you. That's why there's, why we can be fluid in all of our work, the Distance Reiki Share, these, all of it, because we channel everything. And so, in a case like today, I'm listening with you as the invocation comes through. And maybe what I'm thinking as I'm speaking is, that's one of the things that we could be teaching is how to create your own invocations and why we do things the way we do them. So today is about inviting the Reiki energy in. These invocations sometimes can go very deep. And if that should happen, be sure that you are in a place that you can allow yourself to go as deep as these can go. If you are able to just let it wash over you, if you're at work or you're doing something and you're listening, that's okay too. And sometimes you also need to not even do that and listen to it later if you are called to listen to it later. We do these again. This is something you can go to our YouTube channel and our podcast channels. There are new journeys and invocations every week for all the different topics. All right. So I'm going to go into it. So let's do it. So go ahead and get comfortable. I do turn my video off during this. And that's always up to each of you. Okay. Close your eyes and take some deep breaths. Place your hands comfortably on your body. Open your heart and receive. As you receive the light of your authentic self reveals, and you breathe in the light. And as you breathe in, the power of love fills your breath, flowing into your body, awakening and revealing the power of love within you. And as you breathe in the light and the power of the divine mind. And the divine mind fills your body and your breath and awakens your divine mind. And aligns you with divine intelligence and your own divine intelligence, divine intellect, your human intellect. They all align. As your divine spirit and your human spirit are unified, your divine nature and human nature are unified. And you remember, in truth, you are one spirit. And as you breathe in the light of the divine mind, your head mind, heart mind, gut mind, all align with the earth and with the heavens. From the source of wisdom, flowing from the heavens, and flowing through the universe and the galaxy and our solar system, our sun, our moon, flowing through your soul star, crown chakra, and each of your chakras as the light meets here within you and is unified with the light of the earth rising through your earth star, your root chakra. And you realize it's one light and that you are aligned with the divine mind, your mind, and the earth mind. As you remember, your body is made of the earth to give your spirit life and breath, this life, this breath, this moment in the journey of your soul from the beginning of when your spirit became self-aware in the divine heart. The light and the breath of the divine heart fills your light, your breath, with your spirit as it ignites and shines through your heart light, shines in front of you and behind you and on each side. Your heart light shines above you and below you and within you for you to see, to remember. And your inner awareness awakens. You remember your soul's journey, that at this time you're here in your life, in this sunrise and this sunset. And like the tree of life, your roots grow deeply into the earth and you receive the nourishment of the earth and the heartbeat of the earth. And your branches reach to the heavens and you receive the nourishment of creation and of divine love, pure consciousness and pure heart. The light of wisdom flows through you, and you receive the wisdom of the heavens and the wisdom of the earth, and it's revealed, the wisdom within you. And as you breathe in the breath of the gentle four winds, carrying the wisdom of the ancient ones here on the earth, the wisdom of the ages, of the stones and of the waters and of the trees and the people and the animals and the plants and the air, the fire and the earth. Breathe deeply now as you open your heart and receive divine compassion, awakening divine compassion within you. As your cellular memory wakes up with your gifts, your inner knowing, your inner truth, and your perceptions expand now to the awareness of the beautiful beings of the light that are here with you. the enlightened ones of your heart, your beautiful and sacred ones, your spiritual teams and guides. They're all here with you, for you. We welcome the divine animal kingdom and the spirit of the earth. And we welcome the angels and the archangels, the ascended masters, and the beautiful beings we call our sisters and brothers in the light. Breathe deeply now as you open your heart and receive, as your spirit is revealed to you, your divine mind revealed to you, aligned with wisdom, your body awake and receptive to divine intelligence, your divine intelligence. Sometimes, though, you know it can all be hidden from your own view. Sometimes the ways and the worries of the world and living in this life can create layers that hide you from you, veils of forgetting who you truly are, the extraordinary beauty of your soul right here, right now, the gifts of your soul, the gifts of you today from this lifetime and other lifetimes, ancestral histories. And so you breathe in the light of Reiki, and the light travels in on your breath, and with the power of love and the authority of compassion, the grace of forgiveness, the light travels in on your breath and envelops those layers that hide you from you. The layers that have been created sometimes by injuries to your heart, your mind, your soul, your body. And through this love, the cords and connectors and attachments that keep those layers attached to you are filled with the power of love, and they dissolve in the light, and they dissolve in the authority of compassion. And all that is released here travels into the light where it can be healed. And the burdens that you have carried are released from you. And you simply let them go with ease and grace. At this time, in the endings of the year of the snake, the endings of this time frame right now, you just simply let go and allow grace to be here for you, that this is gentle and easy. And you take this time and you notice that you are ready to step forward into new beginnings. And these new beginnings include remembering who you are, all the while still being human, living your life through the daily challenges, through the daily thriving, creativity. And so you open your heart and receive, because sometimes the path forward isn't clear yet. And you simply allow the letting go. And as you breathe in the light brings in your gifts, your knowing, clarity, trust. As you begin to perceive your divine intelligence and your human intelligence working together, your gut, your soul, all working together, as your whole body is listening and present and available to you, as you remember, the remembering is very much part of your intention for your new beginning. And the remembering is the remembering the power of love at the core of your breath and your being. And you breathe it in and it fills you up. And the remembering includes your divine mind and human mind, heart mind, gut mind, all aligned with your authentic intuition, imagination, intentions, your instincts and inner knowing, your inner truth and inner authority, all present, your innovations, inventiveness, and the gifts that you have from this lifetime, other lifetimes, and ancestral histories remembered, waking up the epigenetics within you, waking up with your gifts and your talents and your knowing, your heightened perceptions and heightened consciousness. And the remembering of your divine heart shining within you. And your connection with the earth and your connection with the heavens, unified right here. The wisdom within you, available to you for decision making and your practical daily life. To navigate through this world, the earth, this incredibly beautiful realm of duality we call the first heaven. Heaven is on earth. And your perceptions expand to remember you here through all the duality. And so you breathe in the light of peace and the light of remembering and the beautiful beings of the light that are here with you to assist you. The Reiki energies that are here to assist you, to fill you with your vitality and vibrancy and remembering. And take a moment to notice your path ahead of you. The blessing fields are present as you take this time to step forward and to trust in your new beginnings. Breathe deeply and receive, and know that it's okay if you're still meant to just stand still. It's okay if you can only see one step in front of you. It's okay if you can see way out ahead of you. And you remember the perceptions of eagle vision, seeing your path from up high. And mouse vision, seeing what's immediate in front of you. And your inner vision, following your inner guidance. So take a moment, breathe deeply, and simply receive. As your mind lifts into your higher thought and higher consciousness, your divine heart and the power of love that you are, your deep connection with the earth, your knowing of the heavens, and your beautiful spirit within. So take this time now to say thank you to you. You are listening to you. Breathe deeply now as we say thank you to each other. Our circle is always divinely ordered. All of us who were here together live today and those who listen later. Thank you. Thank you for our beautiful community. And we say thank you to the Reiki energies and all these beautiful beings of the light that are here, the spiritual realms of the 12 heavens. We lift our minds into the highest frequencies of this solar system right now and living on the earth, the rhythms and the cycles we're in. And we say thank you to the teachers who came before us, the descendants who come after us. We're so very honored to be here right now, opening our hearts and receiving. Open your heart and receive. And say thank you. And so it is. And so now I will be coming back quickly because we are on the podcast and recording. But for those of you that need to stay where you are, feel free to stay right where you are for as long as you need to. I always get a little bit altered from those. So that is a really good example of an invocation. And since we've been doing some explanation, I'll just explain that a little bit more in depth. So I was aware when I was going into the channeling that it felt very deep. And it had the distinction of being an invocation. So, sorry, the invocation is always about bringing in the Reiki energy, the divine beings, and who that is according to you, and what that is according to your perception. We do use a lot of spiritual language here. Particularly, we do have a shamanic background, and so that is, always part of it. It's always appropriate for you to think of everything the way it comes through for you. So, for instance, some might feel like Reiki is more of a biofield, or that when we talk about the heavens, it's more about dimension. Or if we talk about the universe, might take you to the awareness of what we think of as cosmic or galactic realms. So however you think about all of it, the same with spiritual beings. We come from such diversity of backgrounds here that we have a variety of religions and pathways that people are walking, belief systems people have. For myself, I like my belief system. I don't know if I think everything the way it comes through for me, intuitively or through my imagination is exactly what it is. But I like my belief system and it makes sense for me. So I go deeper into it. And I have very validated experiences that even if I have defined it a particular way or envisioned it a particular way or related to it in a particular way, it has vast, vast ways of perceiving all of it. But I also have the validation in my own life that the way that I am perceiving things for me really has reality and truth to it and experience with it. So anyway, with that said, with the invocation, we bring in the Reiki energies. So for instance, the power of love for me is the power symbol. The divine mind is the mental emotional system symbol, and the divine heart is the distance symbol. The connection with the earth and with the heavens is the Usui master symbol, and igniting your spirit within is the holy fire master symbol. The tree of life energy that comes through is our animal Reiki energy and symbol. And then when I'm inviting divine compassion, that for me is all the Karuna symbols. And because in our groups, we have people from all different backgrounds and all different lineages, and also in this lineage, we don't typically say the names of the symbols out loud, except for two people that we know specifically are attuned to that level of Reiki. So that's where the invocation years ago showed up for me as giving like a way that I perceive the nature of the energy. So like the power symbol, CKR, is that depth of power of love from the source of creation. And so instead of saying the name of the symbol as you're breathing it in, to me, that is what I'm inviting or invoking, is that energy for you. So you can do the exact same thing, either using the language I'm using, but you can use your own language for the same thing. We do have, again, in that Reiki resources tab on our website, we have an invocation booklet that's a free download. And it is actually translated into English and Spanish. And we just recently had Vida from South Korea translated into Korean, and we just haven't had a chance to get that on our website yet. So the next thing that happens in the invocation is after we do the calling in of the energy, is that we actually do a pretty significant releasing. So the way the Reiki energy comes in, before that, we open our hearts and we perceive the enlightened beings that are here with you. And so, Andre said he can translate into Ukrainian and Russian. Yes, that would be fabulous. Thank you. We'll be in touch after this for that. Anyway, back to it. So we invite the enlightened beings in, again, according to your perceptions. I name the ones that, I feel the presence of them, and invite, when I call the enlightened ones of your heart, that those are here with you. We're not calling all of the spirits of everybody here into the whole group, because not all of us work with those beings. So you can hear very specifically when I state the beings, the enlightened ones of your heart, your beloved and sacred ones, your spiritual teams, and your guides are here with you. And then I invite the beings that I know come in for the whole gathering always and part of our community. And I also know that it's not just limited to that. We only invite enlightened beings into our circles. And that's a whole other conversation that we could get into another time, which we should get into another time. Probably have gotten into another time. But anyway, so then after the enlightened beings are invited, the Reiki energy is invited, you're filled up. That's when the Reiki energy comes in to start releasing those cords and connectors and attachments that are connected to layers that cover you from your wholeness or from the truth of your brilliance, your own perception of you and your beautiful spirit, because all of us in truth are absolutely beautiful beings of the light. And also we are here at this time in our soul's journey to be on the earth and to be human and to experience duality and duality of consciousness and choice and individual and collectively. And we're here at this time on the earth and in human history. So because of being human, we sustain injuries, and we sustain injuries to our soul, and we sustain injuries to our mind and our heart and our bodies. It's part of this reality for whatever reason. I know what I think, but I don't have a full explanation of it for everybody. I don't know the ultimate truth of why the earth is created the way it is as a place of duality. So we let go, the Reiki energy comes in, and the way the nature of the Reiki energy comes in is it's operating through the power of love, the authority of compassion, and then there are graces. One of them is forgiveness, and there are other graces also. So the energy comes in, and the way the energy works is rather than cutting the cords of those layers or casting those layers out, the energy actually dissolves those cords and those connectors and carries them with the layers into the light, and the light in the light through all of the either beings of the light or the consciousness of the light, the authority of compassion and the power of love, what you have released is healed. The burdens of carrying those layers are actually lifted and released from you. And we always ask for that to be gentle and to allow that to dissolve rather than be torn away or cut off or cast out. It's a very compassionate style of healing. But it also is definite because the power of love and the authority of compassion are that power of love is the greatest source there is by all the names it's called for each of you, what that means to you. And so those layers are released. So the next part of it is actually then filling back up with the Reiki energy for the Reiki energy to fill you with your gifts. You come into this life with gifts. You come in with inner knowing. Your soul has been on a long journey from the moment you became an existing being in that spark of light. We call it in the divine heart, that in the divine heart, pure consciousness becomes unique and self-aware as you. And in that divine heart, and then that heart light shines within you to remember that this is actually still here. Even though the layers can cover it from you, it's all still here right inside of you, and it reveals it. So often we use the terms of Reiki heals the injuries, and Reiki reveals the gifts of who you are. So in the invocation, and very definitely today, just coming in powerfully with you to remember who you actually are as a beautiful being of the light. And that you are here to be human. And yeah, it can be a rough experience. And as we know right now, there's just so much, just that's all I can say. There's just so much happening. And for me, we use the Reiki energy to navigate through it all. How do you stay conscious? How do you stay clear? How are you able when life can be super challenging to stay stable inside, even when you don't feel stable and the world feels unstable? How do you stay in the light of beauty when outside seems very chaotic and hard? So one of the things that Reiki does, because that is a dual experience, is helps you to remember your inner self and the depth of that soul's knowledge, even when you feel differently than that. So I use this example all the time. You can be in the state of joy, the inner state of joy inside of you, and know that everything is okay. And on the external feeling, your feeling in this moment can be in grief or worry or fear, and they can coexist at the same time. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned early in Reiki in one of my vision quests, was realizing, because I was just miserable. It was so hot, and it was 4 days, and I'm by myself in the desert in this little space. And some of them are easier than others. This one was really miserable. And that's the vision that I had afterwards, was to understand that I had a duality in my nature that could be in the fullness. In this case, it was specifically joy, an internal state of being of joy, but not feel joyful in that moment. In fact, I was in a tremendous level of grief in that moment. My father had just died, and all kinds of other things were happening. And I was like, I do not feel joyful. So anyway, that's what the invocation is all about. And again, we have the free booklet, and the way we did the booklet was to give you short versions of it, long versions of it, and then we also describe like how to create your own. And just so you know that you can look at that booklet, take any part of it that works for you, like use any of it that works for you, change it however you might need to, adapt it to your style. It is actually a free download. And so anyway, another long explanation of invocations, and I think we are aware that it would be a good topic that we could cover for a length of time so that you can kind of get to know what yours is. It was a big part of my course of study in my early years with shamanism and Reiki, and also to know that the invocations can evolve and they can change. This particular one we did today would be a kind of an easy version of what Robin and I have developed over the years, called the Spirit Reveal technique, where it really is going in at a very deep soul level to release the injuries that you have sustained and to bring in the gifts that are true for you. and then to look forward on your path ahead and to trust your inner knowing, because you can be in all different states of perceiving your path ahead of you. Sometimes the path ahead of you says, stand right here where you are. Just stay right where you are. Doesn't always mean forward motion. Sometimes your path ahead of you is going to be a, one step. And sometimes you can see a really long way. The invocation did invite you to view your path again from eagle vision and mouse vision and your inner vision. For those of you that may not be familiar, we just put a whole 4 or 5 weeks of journeys to eagle, mouse, and inner vision. And so you can perceive. One of the things I heard somebody else talk about, it was Molly McCord. I listen to her podcasts on astrology all the time and talking about your path ahead of you. And right now we are in we have many, many astrological signs in Capricorn. And Capricorn is commonly understood as, like the goat climbing the mountain to the top. And the mountain goat, that is so agile, but also as she was bringing the awareness of the switchbacks going up and down up the mountain. So I really liked that particular imagery of awareness of sometimes when you're climbing. Um, right now, I'm actually kind of asking my path to not be climbing a mountain. Like, could I just have a straight, flat path for a while and just have some ease in that? So I think that's the other thing to understand is you can actually ask for where you need your path to be. And I do always ask for it to be gentle. Um, doesn't always feel gentle, but I know it is gentle in comparison. So anyway, okay, I think I feel complete with that. We have,
Meg has her hand up.
okay, thanks. So Danny, are you going to go ahead and moderate for me?
Um,
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question. I have a couple questions. When I do the long distance Reiki and I put other symbols in my path, am I clearing karma as well? And if I do the long distance symbol and the other symbols, and I go into my next life, like reincarnation, will that help me?
So, there's not really a way, Meg, for me to give you a definite yes to those questions. Those those indicate the questions you have within you. And I really believe it is a question for you to ask Reiki from your perspective. So, that's one of the things that's it's such an interesting time because we have been so raised to like know that there's somebody with the definitive answer. There is an outside authority that has the answers. And yet, Reiki is teaching us how to get to our inner authority, to find our answers. And at the same time, yes, of course, like, we have years and years and years of experience. And so, do I think that, yes, Reiki energy very specifically can, address and heal karma, align karmic lessons for your next lifetime? Absolutely. Again, that is going to be answered from your perspective because you may have one idea of what you mean by that question. I may hear that very differently. I may think of like how I think of karma may be different than how you think of karma. I will say that I think Reiki energy helps us release judgment of ourselves and brings in this truth of the love that is the truth at the core of our being, and allows us to always just step into that and be that. And you can let go of past, but then again, see, even as I'm saying it, I'm hearing, but that's a different belief system for everybody, right? So how one person thinks of karma and how another person thinks of it, and what I've been shown, but again, could just be my own filters and how I like believing around it, is that it's still always a choice on the other side. So it's again, I want you to really start asking that question, and remember, you can ask these questions out loud in your daily life. Like, I ask these questions that I know I want to investigate from a spiritual perspective or from a practical perspective. I think about them more than when I'm in a journey. Like, I think about them while I'm doing the dishes, or I think about them while I'm watching TV, or while I'm right now I'm back into crocheting. So while I'm into all of that, and um, you can think about it from everything from the depth of a journey, from the depth of an invocation, but also just as you are wandering in your own inquiry.
And
So yeah,
is
go
there
ahead, Mary.
is there such thing as karmic Reiki?
Well, again, I think there probably is, not that I've heard specifically, because again, I think with Reiki, there's so much about your own inner truth around what that would mean.
One more thing. Because I asked that question, I was wondering because I do a lot of the long distance symbol in my past and in my future. But at the same time, it's almost like it takes layers off to see who I really am inside myself. Because my goal right now is to see what God sees in me. I want to see that and to be that. And so, and I also realize I'm still rough around the edges, which is okay because I understand that I do not want to pretend I'm something that I'm really not. So this whole thing has been one honest awakening journey, and that's all I got.
Love it. There you are. That's authentic path. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Meg. That is beautiful. I remember that was one of the things in my first years ago in shamanic work, was to see myself as God sees me. And at first, I had to do some work around that. I had to be like, oh, what does that mean? And now, of course, I see it so differently. And I've had that come through for other people, where other people, I had one man say to me, oh, I would never want to look at that because he would just be so ashamed of me. And this person was and is such a beautiful human being. I was really sad for him. Let me take that back. I wasn't really sad. It was like a discordant idea of something that was so completely different than how even I would see him, and my belief about how God would see him, that it was actually almost even jolting in the moment to hear him think that about himself. And that's what I meant by, in my perception with Reiki, is that it always perceives us with love. and absolute beauty. And there is such a spiritual awareness of the current belief system on the earth at this time in human shaming. And, this idea that, we are terrible beings. And that's a whole other subject. So I think I'll stop right there with it. But, um, from my experience, and I have literally done probably well over 10,000 Reiki sessions, from soul retrieval to the spirit reveal technique that we do, that Danny practices, that is what we teach in the next step classes. And every single time, in every circumstance, I have seen that what we are shown is truly how beautiful we are, and that this is a specific time in the journey of our soul to be here and have this experience of duality and choice, individually and collectively. So thank you for your question. I think it's a really, I love hearing you speak about yourself that way, that you are really allowing yourself to see who you truly are. Because the human life, it's a thing, as we know, this is, as they say, not always for the faint of heart. And so, in the spiritual realms with the spirits, they always tell me they know. That's why there is so much divine assistance here for us. Okay, thank you. Okay, lady.
Well, we had a few questions after our Distance Reiki share yesterday, and they're kind of all in the same group, so I can ask one of those.
Okay.
Let me find it. What does it mean to manifest from your inner authority or blueprint? Because we were talking about that blueprint yesterday.
I don't remember talking about the blueprint, so I don't know if I can. I have to go back into. Sometimes when we're channeling, things come through that it's like, you don't remember it afterwards. But I can easily go to inner authority. So that's so interesting because I'm thinking, when did I say that?
I think you might have been in a journey.
Yeah, might have been. Yeah, really interesting. I'll have to listen around it. So inner authority, again, such a big topic. And we talk about it constantly because here's, again, you've probably heard me say this a lot, everybody, but for new people, I believe that we are at the change of an age from the outside authority to the inner authority. And what that means, I'm 68. In my lifetime, I was absolutely born into the age where the inner authority was still completely, the outer authority was still the authority. So, you're taught to, um, you're told how to think, what to think, and what to memorize and to know through. In my family, my father was the authority. And so he was very authoritarian also. Also, being raised Catholic, there was authority in my religion that I was told there was an intermediary that would teach me what I needed to know about religion and how I needed to operate within that religion. And um, through my teachers, through adults, the adults were the authority, children were to be seen and not heard. So, because of that, style, which is thousands of years old. And for whatever reason, I'm not even criticizing that style. I'm just saying we're in a change from that style into the inner authority. So also being my age, we were in the early groups and generations of saying, wait a minute, there's something else that I believe and I think that is different than what I'm being told to think. And I would say, from my perception, very much that was like a new beginning of that idea in the 60s. And then in the 70s, it's hard to understand in today's world how revolutionary even the book Jonathan Livingston Seagull was. The idea that the seagull went from the group mind to fly on his own was a new concept. And it was like, for some of us, like, that's it. That's it. I'm going to fly. I'm going to be in my own truth. And I lived that. It was very much, fortunately, my husband wanted to do that too, because we met in high school and, essentially grew up together. We've been married 50 years this year, still growing up together. And what that means at this age. But it was very much the beginning of it all. And from then till now, we have been in the process of transformation from the one age of the outside authority to this age of the inner authority. And I believe that Reiki energy has specifically evolved in a way to teach us about inner authority. When I first learned Reiki, it was still very much in that outside authority style. So we were told exactly how to do it, exactly what to think about it. And if we didn't do it that way, or think about it that way, or teach it that way, it was incorrect. Actually, it was wrong. And there was even that judgment type of a feel to it. So then when I studied with William Rand, and he had a very different view of Reiki energy and that inner authority, even though for him, he was also developing and learning about it, in those early years, that I've observed the Reiki energy over the years from when I learned it in 2000 to today as this opening to really teaching us to go within for our answers. So that's why with Meg, I had to say it's really something, those deep questions of wanting to know. Reiki is helping us to understand, first of all, what question do I have? Like for her, that is her question. So knowing, first of all, oh, that's my question. And then inviting Reiki energy to take you to your inner truth to find your answers. And that does include sharing with others, other experts in the field. I mean, I definitely would say, not to pat myself on the back, but I will say it. Yeah, we are experts in our field. We have been doing this for a lot of years with a lot of experience in teaching, both in shamanism and in Reiki, and as practitioners as well. So we do share common ideas. We do share common knowledge, things that are similar and the same. But at the same time, moving into that inner authority for me has taken years of healing, because I was raised in such an authoritarian household. And also, like, I'll give you an example. Okay, I was not abused. So let me put that out there. I was not abused, but this practice was abusive. I didn't know till I was in my 40s that people didn't get stabbed by a fork at the dinner table for bad manners. Like, I just thought that's how it worked. Fortunately, I didn't do that with my kids. But I remember I said that to somebody one day. I said, "Oh boy, when my kids, I couldn't get them to have manners that I wanted." And I said to another friend, another mother, like, well, back in the day, it was sure probably easier for our parents to enforce good table manners when you got poked with a fork. And she said, I've never been poked with a fork. And I just remember thinking, really? So I started asking others, and everybody was like, no, my parents did not poke me with a fork if I had my elbows on the table or I reached across the table too far for the salt or something. I mean, it would just come out of nowhere and stab me. So, anyway, I digress. Back to the outer authority. I was definitely raised in a very authoritarian household and an authoritarian age. My mom was not quite the same. She was pretty liberal and pretty open. And my dad, even though he was an authoritarian, he was still always like, it was okay for me to think the way I thought. But I did have to really do a lot of healing work around even what the word authority meant. And then to get to my inner authority and trust that I get to believe what I believe, that took time. That took healing. That was my very first um, journey that I did when I was learning in shamanic work with my teacher, Jan Inglesmith. My very first journey, the first thing I did was I journeyed to Jesus to see if I was going to be in trouble for um, learning how to journey in shamanic practices. And he just laughed at me and it came through as like, you're good. This will be good. And, over the years and the journeys that I do with him, he'll say, you know what, I never said that. And so I still, had that, I better check in and make sure it's okay and that what I'm doing isn't condemning me for eternity. That old belief system. And so anyway, speaking of outside authority, what a big one to impose on a child and to grow up believing. And so that's what I mean by Reiki is teaching us how to get to our own authority. What you believe is equal to anyone else's belief. It's like I always think about it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm right. I do know that it works for me. I love my spiritual connections. I love the results. I see the results, the life-changing results that people have. That is so much the bottom foundation of the training we do in our next step classes, what we do here in the Q&As, what we do in our distance Reiki shares, our 12 heavens classes, all of our Reiki classes. It's very much about healing that old kind of outside authority to the inner authority. And we are in the change of an age, to take it all the way back to that. We're in the change of an age. And the children being born now are being born with more rights about their own inner authority, sometimes which is challenging as a grandmother to, you know, like adjust myself from how I might, be a grandmother for my grandchildren. Um, from that outside authority way I was raised. And I would say I was somewhere in between with my kids and then, watching my kids with their kids. They're at definitely the next evolution of letting their kids have their own inner authority and teaching them that way. But it's also, I think, a big part of the pushback that we're in right now um, in the collective. It is there are those that are wanting that change, trying to find the how do we get there? For me, it's Reiki energy, many pathways to it. Um, but there's also the people who are resisting the change so big that is my assessment of part of this really big chaos going on in the world, and that we are moving into new beginnings. And we have actually left that other age and stepped over the threshold into this new age. Okay, so lots to say about that.
All right, let me see. How do I work with Reiki when I feel blocked or stuck?
So I just do it anyway. And I will tell you, if I could only have people believe me, because it seems like now, you hear me and you think, oh, I've never gone through all of this. I have been in profound resistance to Reiki. Like, I am not doing it. It's stupid. I don't like it. No. I have been in like blocked where it seems like I felt blocked. I've also been at another one I'm going to mention is at capacity. So I've been through the resistance, I've been through the blocks, and I've also been through times where I feel like I'm at capacity. I can't hold more. I need to expand more before I can have more come in. Through all of it over these almost 30 years now, some of it has been like extreme experiences of it. The one thing that I did was I just kept showing up and I kept using it. So I've explained this here before because it was such a profound moment. But I remember I was making my bed one day and I was so mad. I don't even know what I was mad about. And I was in that absolute resistance with Reiki. And I just said, okay, chokeray. I said it there. I said it. And that was all I could do. And then about a half an hour later, I was like, okay. And I brought in the next symbol. And then it started to like things settling in with me. And then I've been through the times where I went through really big life cycle changes. So being through times where I had lots of time to be in Reiki journeys and meditations and wondering about it and thinking about it. And then, back when we lived on the farm, and then moving in to take care of my mother, and suddenly there was no time. And that's when Reiki taught me about Reiki on the fly. Because at that time, I still had a belief that I had to stop what I was doing, and either I was in my spiritual practice with Reiki and shamanism, or I was doing my daily life. And so when I learned with Reiki, and Reiki showed me this, was that I could use it on the fly. I could think it in a moment and it would be there for me every bit as much as if I was in a deep state with it. Because the deep state is one particular experience of it. On the fly is a different experience. The results are there though. And that's what I also would say about when I feel blocked or when my clients or students have felt blocked. It's the same advice. Use Reiki and try to let go of the worry about your conscious experience of it and just move into the results. Because it is working regardless of our resistance, of our blocks, of the times we're at capacity. That third one, there have been times where I'm like, I can't hold more. I'm at capacity. And that has sometimes lasted for months where it's like, yeah, I'm good right where I'm at. I don't need more. I'm at capacity. What I've discovered with it all is just keep doing it and let it show you how it works that way, that all of it has a meaning. Every experience with it has something that you are learning about with it. It's part of your life training. So when I had to learn Reiki on the fly and how it worked, that wasn't like just an immediate, oh, hey, I can do it like this. It was over the course of time. We ended up caregiving for my mother for 7 years. Most of it wasn't in crisis like it was in the first 2 years, but often she would, because she was so non-compliant, she would throw us throw me into crisis. And so I would be suddenly, Reiki on the fly. Now we need to use it right in this moment. So I learned so much about it over the course of years. I also learned that I didn't have to do it perfectly for it to work. So, for instance, she did not like Reiki on a table and to go deep. So I learned I could give Reiki even though I wasn't feeling it, she wasn't feeling it. I might just be holding one of her hands and we would be talking, or even she would be watching TV, and that it worked as powerfully that way too. And so I learned all the different ways out of need that Reiki truly meets us where we are and does not require, again, going back to the outside authority topic, where I was originally taught in spirituality that I had to earn that receiving. I had to deserve it. I had to pray for it, ask for it, earn it, be deserving of it. And what Reiki shows is it comes through in all the beautiful ways, whether we experience it or not, the results will still be there. So in the years of training that I went through, that we've gone through around the world with indigenous teachers, shamanic training is so difficult. And what I learned with Reiki is it's teaching us it just doesn't have to be so hard, and that it will meet us where we are. So if you are feeling blocked, or if you feel like everybody else knows more about it than you do, let Reiki come in and heal your beliefs around it as much as releasing the blocks. So some of the students, like I have a particular set of students that I've worked with over probably 15 years. They give Reiki, have never felt the sensation of Reiki energy, and they know how it's working by the results of the people they're giving it to. And at first was very frustrating for them and really had to heal a lot of beliefs around it. And now they're completely comfortable with it and completely know practicing Reiki your way.
Okay, let me look at the next one here.
Okay. I see there's a question. I want to make
Oh,
sure we get to Donna's question in the chat too.
oh, I'm sorry. You can go ahead and take hers first.
Okay, let me do that because Donna was here and asked, are the Q&A invocations and journeys posted separately so they can be downloaded if desired? So the invocation was perfect for where I'm at currently. So in the Q&A, we keep the recording going through the whole 2 hours of the podcast. In the Distance Reiki shares, those are always recorded separately and posted separately. So this one today is the recording from everything we talked about prior to it and everything we're talking about afterwards. But any of them, the ones that are posted every Thursday, those are always separate. And so you can always go into the journey without listening to everything else, or you can do it in whatever order makes sense to you. And so that's another thing, speaking of inner authority. And yesterday we were talking about how our minds work. I am very much one that I'm going to skip around. Like I don't always do things in a, you do it this way. And I've said that before. Like in our next step classes, we record them, and in the recordings, there's all this information, right, that people can access afterwards. And one day I was talking about it in class and saying, you when you go back to listen, or if you didn't join us live and you're listening later, you can just go straight to the journey and then decide if you want to go to the information and then see if you want to look at the podcast or not, the PowerPoint. And you can just jump around however you want. You could go to 2 months ago and then go to next month, however you want. And some of the students were just like, I could never do it that way. I need to listen to it from, here's step one, here's step two, here's step six, however it works for everybody. But the way my brain works, Donna, is I skip around. So if you go to our YouTube channel, yeah, just check out the different ones and listen to what seems like what you're guided. It's almost like you can open up a book, and you know how you'll open a book and suddenly, oh, that's the one I want to listen to today, or that's what I'm going to read today. The same thing with the journeys. So we have literally hundreds of journeys on our YouTube channel because we've been posting them for years. The same with the podcasts. The podcasts where we have guests, we do a journey for all of us prior to starting the recording, or not a journey, we do an invocation before we start the recording, but we don't post that. But all the Distance Reiki shares we post separately. And then the Q&A, today's was part of the whole long recording. So yeah, so just go in and poke around. And some days you might want to read it in the blog instead of listening to it. And also you can fast forward through it, get to the parts you want. Yeah. That's how my brain works. So anyway.
What I do sometimes, like when I wake up at 2 in the morning and can't get back to sleep, is I'll just go to our YouTube channel, and just whatever journey or invocation, I just pick one. I don't look at it. I just pick one and fall back to sleep with it. So I like doing that.
That is such a great idea. Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I volunteer in a cancer clinic. How can I protect my own energy when giving Reiki to others?
Danny, do you want to answer that one? Because you've done a lot of that work. I have too, but
Sure. So when I volunteer, I sit in my car before I go in, and I really ground myself and just know that this is not about me. It's about the patients or the nurses, staff, the surroundings, the chairs, the medicines. That's what I focus on. And so I really ground myself. And when I go in, and I intend, I'm like, okay, I would like to have 5 clients today. Because sometimes, you walk into a cancer center or any volunteering, and people are like, what are you doing? And I definitely don't explain what I'm doing. I just say, I volunteered Reiki. Would you like some? And they say, I don't know what that is. I'm like, let me show you. And they're like, okay. And they love it. So anytime I've ever volunteered, there has never been anyone to say no, never, except if they were leaving. Like, I'm leaving, I'll do it next time. So how I clear myself, though, how I don't take in that energy, because I will be honest, my very first time of volunteering, I was a Reiki 1 and 2 practitioner, and I was so excited to volunteer, to have my little polo shirt on. I went into this big hospital in Portland, and I went in and started doing Reiki, and I started choking. I had a headache. I completely absorbed everything. And I remember calling Colleen, and she was just my teacher. I wasn't working with her or anything at this point. And I said, what did I do wrong? What happened? And she goes, well, you absorbed it. I mean, she nicely said, it's not about you. Reiki is doing this. And so I really learned how to do grounding technique for me. So in the car, and when I went in, I did not absorb it. I was there just to give Reiki, and sometimes in those kind of places, you can't be all over. So it might just be at the ankles, and I just would just send Reiki and let Reiki do it. And then after every client, I would go, and I'm not going to do like dry brushing in a medical setting. And so I would just go and wash my hands after each client, and just do like a dry bathing and release all that. And so when I go to the next person, I was not taking anything with me, and I wasn't absorbing it. And that's how I looked at it. So I just didn't make it about me whatsoever, because you can have a lot of sympathy and empathy in places like that. And there's a lot of energy with the caregivers, with the, like I say, the staff, and with all the patients and stuff like that. So definitely grounding. And then after I would leave, I go back in the car and do a ritual of release and dry bathing. So that's how I did it.
Thank you, Danny.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
So I think,
before you do
go ahead.
that, I want to read Julie's quote. I always love how this works, how it applies to somebody. So Julie wrote, I'm on a beach in Florida, and yesterday was amazed at one seagull who went off on its own, flew off over the deeper part to fish. I thought about the book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and how I love that book and being one's own authentic self. Thank you for this, Colleen. But the backstory of that is Julie and I had a whole conversation yesterday. And so completely not about Jonathan Livingston Seagull. So I just love how that works. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's a side joke, or not a side joke, but a side serendipity.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I think that we're good here. I think we're at time.
Oh dear, that happened quickly. I'm just checking the chat.
I am too. Lavita has a question. Do you see that?
Yes. Do you want to go ahead and read it?
Yes. Lavita says, thanks for sharing. This reminds me of a recent experience. I always felt like absorbing the energy. And recently, while I was giving Reiki to a puppy who has cancer the second time, I felt my energy being attacked during the Reiki session. How should I react to that feeling and protect myself next time?
So do you want to go ahead and continue in your explanation, or you want me to answer it?
You go ahead.
Okay. So Lavita, I think to build on what Danny just described would be the same with the animal Reiki and with working with people. And surrounding yourself with Reiki energy to assist you in any given moment is always beneficial. So I'm going to mention the how-to of this. So when we say surrounding yourself with Reiki, everybody or many people are going to have some common styles of doing that, and also may have your own style of doing that. It's another area that I found I could do on the fly as well as for a length of time. So, for instance, if I am going to a session like this where I know I'm going to be working in a situation, I might take a good amount of time to surround myself with Reiki symbols. So that could look like whatever symbols you work with, placing in front of you on all the walls around you, the ceiling, the floor, and the center. From shamanic language, that would be placing the energy in the directions. So northeast, southwest, above, below, within. So putting the symbols, now typically what I'll do is I work with the power symbol, so CKR, and Holy Fire Master symbol, but you can use any symbols. You don't have to use those exact. And if you are not attuned to symbols yet, just invite Reiki, like you can just beam it towards the energy. So if I place all of those symbols around me, and I might do that physically by drawing each one, or I might think it, or I might send it with my eyes, or I might beam it with my hands, or send it out on my breath. You can do Reiki delivers all those different ways. Any of you that are sound healers, you could fill the space with sound and know that that's bringing Reiki energy around you. Then I'll take the other symbols and place them into the container I just created with Reiki. And I personally have spiritual guides that I work with and invite them to come in when I need help in a situation like that. Most of the time, when you place that field of light around you, it acts like a filter. And you learn that really things that might feel like it's an outside source that's a lower density, or you feel attacked, or something is off. Maybe it's just even just as small as something's off. You can let the energy itself handle that and guide the energy or intend that the energy will handle any of those lower frequency energies. So what happens when you place that field of light around you, it's like a filter. And so as any negative energy or lower density energies try to come towards you, they're going to go through that filter. And by the time they get to your energy, it's already dissolved in that light. There have been times when I have felt like I needed to call in my A team, like, okay, and in that, this was always true in all my shamanic work as well. I have always worked with Jesus, Michael, and Gabriel when something really comes in that I'm like, I need something here, handle this, move it out of my field. And it is almost instantaneous that it moves it out of my field, and I don't engage with it. I let it go. If it's something that I feel needs to just be removed from my perception, I don't chase the perception. I don't follow it. I just let it be removed and go on to what I'm doing. So there can be all different experiences, and they can feel like they're long lasting afterwards. Like, what was that? And that was a little bit scary. And why did that happen? It's again allowing that Reiki energy to come in and just cleanse you of it. Sometimes the engaging in it is bigger. Like we remember that part of it more than the incredible experiences that also happen in a session. So I've learned how to not focus on those areas other than to, like, hey, Reiki, I need you to handle this next time. And I set an intention and I dialogue with it and with my guides, like, hey, you need to handle this. I also work with Kuan Yin, is an amazing teacher of this, and healer for things that might come through. So the main thing is that I let it go and I don't engage with it afterwards. I don't try to investigate it other than the question you asked. How do I establish these fields for myself so I'm not in that position? And if I end up in that position, what are the skills and the energies I need to work with it? But I don't engage with what it was. And I move right into the incredible experiences that are actually happening in the session. It may also be that that energy was more of a perception than you being attacked. It may have been something that was like a psychic impression of maybe how the animal felt. and it felt more like your intuitive style might be more on feeling, like having an actual experience of feeling what something else feels. So then that's a whole other subject of understanding your intuition style too. So it may not have been specifically directed at you. It might have been an experience of kind of how either the animal feels or maybe the animal's caregiver feels. And so it was released through the session that you did. And this is also why I always go back to ultimately the answers you receive to these questions is really more about your truth. Because I can give you like generalizations about it all. When it all comes down to it, you can ask like, okay, so what was that? Rather than engaging in it, you're not following it, but this question, how do I take care of myself so this doesn't happen? I can feel entirely confident that negative energies do not have any authority to get through my fields. Between the Reiki energies and the guides that I work with, and if anything does feel like it's coming through, it's almost an immediate, like, no, no, come in and take care of it. So that's a whole other big subject. But that's kind of a summary of, trying to answer your question for right now. I do that too when I'm in ceremonies with other people that are facilitating the ceremony. So even though, like maybe they don't even want me to bring Reiki in for the ceremony itself, I'll always bring that field around me. I also use that field for more than sessions. That field for me, because many of us are so empathic, that I also use that field so that I can walk in the world without feeling all the feels of all the feels there are to feel. So that filter that I just described is really beneficial. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and finish up. So thank you all for being here. We'll just take a moment to bring ourselves together. So if you're here, go ahead and just place your hands in Gasho and take this time to say thank you to you, to truly honor you for listening to you, discovering you, asking questions about you and hearing your own answers, finding your inner truth, your inner authority. We say thank you to each other as always. Our circle is divinely ordered. We were all meant to be here. Those who are here live and all of you who listen later, thank you. And again, thank you to all the beautiful beings that join us, all of yours, all of ours, all of mine. Thank you. All the Reiki energies. And again, thank you to the teachers who came before us and the descendants who come after. We're honored to be here in this moment. Thank you. And so it is.